Hello, you're listening to Sounds Like MLM But Okay, the podcast, where we talk about the issues and underlying problems with multi-level marketing companies. I'm Katie, here with my co-host Sasha. Today we're going to be talking with Courtney Harwood. She was a mentor for Lularoe and was the first mentor to actually leave the company. Hi, Courtney. How are you today?
Hey, I'm doing well. How are y'all?
Doing pretty good. I don't know about Sasha, but I'm really excited about this episode. I'm really excited to be talking with you.
Oh,
Um,
hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Well, thank you for inviting me, and thank you to everyone that's listening also.
so to kind of get started, we'll start. First things first. How did you get involved with Lularoe? How did you hear about it?
Okay, so I was in corporate America for about 11 years, and one of my friends was doing an online party, and this was when LuLaRoe was maybe a yearish old. Now, my friend was located in Kentucky, and to be nice, I ordered, I think, 5 pieces of clothing from her, thinking they'll never fit me. My body's just, I was a size 10, 12. And when I got the clothes in, they fit. And I was ecstatic because it's always been hard to fit my body. And I felt good in the clothes, I felt confident in them. I had black Irma, I had some beautiful leggings and prints. And so what I did was I looked around and I was like, I've never really heard of a company that does clothing. I know there's a couple out there, but the price point of these clothes is pretty spot on. The price point was much lower then.
Right.
And so
Right.
that was kind of how I first got introduced to Lularoe, was through an online party and just kind of blindly ordering.
Yeah. So was that
I'm
you
just
just?
oh, I'm sorry, Katie.
That's okay. So you kind of just joined because you really liked the clothes and thought that you could be, successful selling them.
Well, I joined. I'm always going to be doing more than one thing. That's just how I am. I looked at what was then the retailer map. If you look at it now, there's little dots for how many retailers are in the area. Now it looks like the cell phone towers of the US. You can't even see any white on there. Back
Right.
then, you could see, and I was like, there is no one east of I 95 in North Carolina selling these clothes. And I was like, ding, ding, ding. So I held my own online party. And afterwards, the hostess showed me that she had made $900 in profit in one night. And I was floored.
Yeah.
So I said, sign me up. Now I'm very open, I'm very honest. We had a nice house. Both myself and my husband had great jobs. We drove nice cars. We did have 3 children, and we had a lot of debt. We're talking in the hundreds of thousands, and that came from NICU bills, my own medical bills, and student loans, private student loans, and then credit cards from me spending too much money on other clothes. So when I decided to join and they told me the startup price was $5,000, I about fell over.
Yeah.
And my
Well.
Yeah.
husband said, absolutely not. He's like, are you crazy? He's like, we could take that 5,000 and totally pay off a credit card. And I said, well, this is an investment though. And he said no. He kept saying no. Now, also back then, this was in March of 2015. I started when there was around 1,100-ish retailers. They had what was called the Consignment Program. So I had to give them 2,500 and they loaned the other 2,500 to me. And every time I sold something, they would take 25% of that. Or I'm sorry, every time I bought something, they would take 25% of that and to pay back my loan. So
Yeah.
really only had to put up 2,500. I went to the bank and applied for a $2,500 loan, and I was astonished they actually gave the loan to me, but they did. And then I did the consignment program. So that's how I started. I paid off my consignment within, wow, I mean, it was very, very quick.
I just have, for our listeners who may not know, when we say that Courtney is a mentor, that means that she was basically at the tippy top of the Lularoe pyramid. Was it just dumb luck that you happened to get in on the ground floor?
I wouldn't say it was. I did my, I guess, investigation into it and how I could market it. And I did a lot in like 2 or 3 days. Could I do this? Do I have the time to do this? I can't say it was luck because it was work. You can't go into it and not work. There were
Oh
nights
yeah,
that
I
me and
did.
my husband stayed up till, because he was helping me back then, and we were both working full time till 4 a.m. packaging.
God.
Right. I
So
was just curious how you got in so early, like
Or how you
1,100
got to
people when you look at
mentor.
all the
Yeah.
retailers out there now.
oh, absolutely. I guess it was just the luck of that. A friend of mine having that party,
It's
me
good
buying the
timing.
pieces, me feeling confident in the pieces because I thought then at 10, 12, I felt overweight. I felt ugly, and those clothes made me feel beautiful.
Right.
Never heard of the company before then, but what I saw in the company, I felt that it was the right thing to do. So, luck, you say, I guess you could call it a little bit of luck that I did get in early. I will have
Yeah.
to say that not everyone that got in early succeeded, though. There were people that quit.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
There were many people that quit that got in early. So, you do have to work. It was you have to work to get that
Of
return on
course.
investment.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't trying to assume that. I was just like, wow, she got in so early. Like she had her foot in the door right away.
Yeah.
Yes, I did. And I didn't want to I didn't want to pass that chance up. I felt that it was going to become very, very popular. I didn't realize it was going to explode like it did, especially after they ended the consignment program. It was about 3 months after I joined that they said, we're not doing the consignment program anymore. Not enough people are not paying us back. Now, I was not one of those. And it's going to be $5,000 to join now. I thought that would deter people from joining. That's
Right.
when we started getting more people joining. I was taken aback by that because usually when I told people about the consignment program, they were excited. That's how they wanted to sign up. And now these people were coming out of their pocket $5,000. And I'm thinking to myself, why did you even do where's this money coming from all of a sudden? But
Right.
people saw the success. And I have always said I only recruited one person in the time I was with Lularoe. The rest of it was organic recruiting. People saw my success, how well I was doing with it. They wanted to know more. They called me. I told them the truth. I'm one of those people. I'm going to tell you how it is. I'm going to tell you the truth. So I never called any people to say, hey, join my team, except one person the whole time I was with Lularoe. And I'm definitely proud of that because I organically recruited. I didn't want to be that pushy salesperson because I was not a fan of MLMs, direct sales, because I feel like that pushiness behind it, and I'm not that kind of person.
Right. How long did it take you to become a mentor?
I joined in March of 2015. In August, I hit the next level, which is called trainer, and that was in 2015. And the next level was called coach. At that time, there was only about oh, 15 coaches. And if I got to coach, that means my sponsor got to mentor the highest level in the company. There was only one mentor, which if I got to coach, it would make my sponsor the second mentor ever. So I
Wow.
received a call in January of 2016 saying, Courtney, this was actually towards the end of the month in January. We need you to get to coach this month. And I'm thinking, oh, they're just so excited about me, proud of me. They've seen the success and they want me to get there. It did not cross my mind that it would put her at mentor. I just didn't even really understand that part of it yet. And to get to coach, I had to recruit, I believe it was 14 people in a matter of a couple of days, and I had to pass them to my downline. So myself and another girl were doing the recruiting and then placing these people where they needed to be in order for me to hit coach and my sponsor to hit mentor. That made her the second mentor ever. And I was offered $2,500 to do so. If I could do it, then I was offered $2,500. And I did it, and they gave me $2,500, and I hit coach. In July of 2016, actually, it was August. It was like August 1st. I hit mentor. So just 7 months later, I hit mentor. I was the 25th or 26th mentor to hit. That was when the company had about 60,000 consultants at that time. Now that I say 25th or 26th because they couldn't tell me. And we can go into Lula math later. But there was 2 of us that hit that month, and they couldn't tell who hit first. So 25th or 26th mentor, and that was in August of 2016.
So you would say that the company definitely pushed recruiting over selling for all this, right?
Yo, absolutely. It was recruit, 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 recruit. That's where you make your money, is recruit, recruit, recruit. Now, we were paid on the inventory that was bought up front. So the more people you recruited, the more money was coming into Lularoe because they were having to buy those onboarding packages to get our bonuses. We had to buy a certain amount each month. So the more people you have, I mean, that's the easy math. The more people you have, they're buying to sell. And it was a huge, huge push to recruit. Huge push. That was, at that point, we didn't really have much training on sales. It was more training on recruiting.
Right.
And I come from a marketing and sales background, so I know how to sell. And I still relied on the sales aspect of it to get extra money, but my bonuses were large at that point, and I had also quit my corporate job, and so I had more time. But I was trying to finagle a team of 3,500 plus people and sell. And so it was just recruit, 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 recruit. It was bodies.
So why did Lularoe stop pushing recruitment?
And I don't know all the legal terms, the legalities, and everything like that, but front loading inventory is illegal. That is basically, they don't know where you could be, all that inventory could be sitting in your garage and never getting to the end consumer. And I believe 70% of it is supposed to get to the end consumer. Don't quote me on that one. But along came the FTC, and they said, your bonus structure is illegal. You are paying people based on what is bought instead of what is sold. So they had to change their bonus structure to pay us on goods sold versus goods bought.
Okay. Yeah, I it's just bonkers to me that it's just so hard to wrap my head around.
Oh, it was absolutely very hard to wrap our heads around. And then we were thinking, this whole time we've pushed recruit, and now we're having to push how to sell. And
Right.
also, during calculations, we knew that all our bonuses were going to drop, not just by 10%, 20%, 30%, but 75%. We got an Excel spreadsheet when they would send them out, which was when they felt like it, but they called it a field report. And I would calculate, and I would look at the numbers, and I was like, this is just, it's not going to work. But because of the FTC guidelines, they did have to go to that bonus base structure off of sales. Now, when they did that, however, they made it virtually impossible for the mentors to hit the mentor status. Once a mentor, always a mentor. However, most of us were not paid as mentors anymore because they set the bar way too high for people that had teams of 3,500. They had us wanting us to sell the most. And we also had a calculation on how many goods we had to sell and how the price of those goods. The math in that made no sense. Absolutely no sense on the goods sold. And we, the mentors, did go to them multiple times and said, if we are having to sell this much and travel all the time, we're traveling all the time, then we can't effectively lead our teams. Now, not that we shouldn't be selling because you lead by example, but there was no way to effectively lead your team. And Mark said to us, well, then just sell. If you just sell, then the teams will follow.
Right.
So it went from, it was basically, don't train, just sell now. Because I knew by sell, you'd be ordering.
Right. So by the time you left, how many people did you have in your downline?
My back office said I had around 4,000. Now, those numbers, there are a lot of numbers not correct.
Yeah.
Most of the, all the numbers, most of the numbers are not correct. I called it Lularoe math because anyone that had ever clicked on the link saying they wanted to sign up was counted in your downline. So we
Right.
Even
never
if they
really
didn't sign
knew
up.
how many people were in our downline. Mine said a little over 4,000. From my calculations, based on the spreadsheet that came to me every month, I said around 3,500. When I left, I resigned October 2nd of 2017. I would say probably I had around 2,900 left. 2,900 to 3,000 left. So probably around 500 consultants had left. But there was no way to
Wow.
really there was no way to tell.
Yeah.
There was no way to tell at that point. Also, we did not get any. If someone left our team and let's say they were 3 lines down, I didn't get a notification.
Yeah.
So I had no clue that Susie Q left.
But you were
Well,
still
you
sorry.
talked about like incorrect like Lularoe math.
Uh-huh.
And you mentioned to us about incorrect bonus checks.
Yes. Let's see. So we got bonus checks, and this goes back to when we were being paid on front loading inventory. Every month we were supposed to get a field report. Not every month we got one, but when we did, I could download mine, and I'm kind of an Excel access geek. And I would run it and see basically what my bonus check should be. Now, I have to say, because I was at mentor status, when I got my actual bonus check, if it was $8,000 off, I knew it was incorrect. Susie, that had a $200 bonus check, she would probably never know. So, on different occasions, I went to them and said, my bonus check's incorrect. If mine's incorrect, that trickles up. It also trickles down. We would go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Finally, Courtney, you're right. It's incorrect. And I did get supplemental bonus checks on some of them. On some of them, I never received supplemental bonus checks. But I've always said if they were audited for those bonus checks, every one of them's off. And
Which
going back to 2015, whew,
yeah.
I can't even think about that. I can't even think like when I was a trainer and a coach how much money I missed out on until I really started calculating things. And another reason I knew they were off is because it would say I hadn't hit mentor that month. I hit mentor every month until the comp plan changed. And at one point, Deanne told me my bonus check, and I said, that's way too low. And she said, well, Courtney, you didn't hit mentor this month. And I said, why, yes, I did. And she's like, no, you didn't. That's why your bonus check is lower. And I kind of kept arguing about it. This was actually in person. We were in Detroit. She had Kenny pull me aside. He called Austin, and Austin said, nope, she didn't hit mentor. I pulled up everything. I've always had every document to back everything up. Kenny looked at it and he's like, whoa, you did hit mentor. And that girl did hit coach. One of my coaches wasn't paid as a coach either. Her check was way off. So they had to go back and fix that. That was the biggest error. But I knew when I didn't hit mentor that the checks were really wrong. So there were a couple times that happened, and that was pretty easy to call them out on. Now, they did argue, and it took a while, but I would get the money when I did approach them about those checks that were wrong.
It kind of makes me wonder whether they kind of counted on people not paying attention to what their checks should be, not keeping track of their own stuff, so that they can't turn around and say, hey, this check isn't as much as it should be.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, I believe so. And now I was in 2 other MLMs before. I was never like huge up in those companies, but there was a way to show the calculations of how your bonus check was broken down and the data to back it up. In Lularoe, there wasn't. At the end, when they gave you the bonus check, and the thing is that as leaders, we got the field reports, but as retailers, they didn't get that field report. So they had no clue, none.
Right.
So they were going kind of blindly off of just what they got.
Just trusting the company that they're doing the right
Trusting the company. It was always trust us, just trust us. Just that term was used more than I have. I don't even want to hear the word trust again because I'm so distrusting. I'm so distrusting now, and that it's sad, but I am so distrusting now, and I know we'll kind of go into that more. But yes, I mean, I fully believe that there's way more money owed out there to so many people than they'll ever know, myself included.
Which is just, it's so sad. It's so sad and it's so disappointing.
It is.
So previously when we talked a little bit about, because you were a mentor and because you were so high up, you had a lot of personal interactions with the owners of the company, and you spent a decent amount of time around them, just either hanging out and talking or in your meetings, things like that. And you had kind of mentioned that they put a pretty uncomfortable emphasis on their retailers having a husband or boyfriend or any kind of significant other.
Yes. When I hit coach in 2016, I was invited on the second ever coaches retreat. So I was the next 15 to go on that coaches retreat. We were sent the information on there. I checked that I would have no one going with me. My husband was not available to go at that time. And there were 2 others, coaches, that were also going on the trip. One's husband was in the military. He could not go. The other was divorced and had been for 7 or 8 years. So we checked it. All was good. I got on the plane. We were going to Vegas. And I got a Facebook message while I was transferring planes that said, Courtney, mind you, this is on the plane going there.
Right.
And this is not verbatim, but I do have this screenshotted. This is the coach's couples retreat. Now, that's the first time they called it the couples retreat. This is the first time I noticed the emphasis on that. And this is a time for you and your spouse to get away, have fun, blah, 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 blah. We've noticed no one's coming with you. Well, can we move you to the December trip?
Oh.
While you're already on your way there.
I'm in Nashville transferring planes on the tarmac as we're getting ready to go down the runway. I don't know if I should jump out the window And so I just kind of start boo-hooing. And at that same time, my phone was blowing up, and I know I was supposed to have it turned off. But the two other coaches that were saying they had just gotten a phone call, they were flying out the next morning, that it was the coaches' couples retreat. And they were kind of absolutely flabbergasted by that. One of the girls was told, they both were told, you can go on the December trip when your husbands are allowed or can go. I'm sorry, not allowed, but can go. And one of the coaches said, I'm divorced. And the person said to her, well, maybe this would be a great reconciliation or a way to do that.
Oh
And
my
get them off.
God.
What?
And she said, I've been divorced for 7 years and he lives out of the country.
Oh my God. Oh, you're
Wait,
divorced? That's
So,
okay. Just bring him
I
anyway.
have a
Maybe you
quick
guys will get back
question.
together. Oh
okay,
my God.
y'all both were talking, so go ahead.
You go ahead, Katie.
No, I was just. No, you're fine. Go.
No, I just have a quick question because you said one woman had a husband who was in the military. Was she ostracized as well, even though he's serving the country? I feel like that Deanne and Mark would be completely pro that.
One would think. And in December, her husband wasn't going to be able to get away either because she was the one rooming with me, and she told me that. So I don't think it matters if you're in the military or not. There are a lot of military spouses that have quit their jobs to do Lularoe full time. And Mark and Deanne have even been proud to say, so proud of those retailers to say, I brought my husband home from the military. So, in
What?
my opinion, it does not matter. That does not matter. Now, the other two women who were leaving the next morning said, okay, we're not going. And I'm sitting here, like I said, on my second leg of the trip. And I was like, no, y'all have to come or I'm going to be in Vegas by myself. Or I'm going to have to turn around when I get to Vegas. And so I went to Vegas. I got there. I immediately called Deanne. And she told me, she was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, that's totally my fault. I looked at the list of people and I was like, oh no, there are 3 women that don't have anybody going with them. This is going to be so awkward for them. They don't have a spouse or whatever. Oh, I told them to send that message. And I said, Deanne, I said, this was the coaches. And I was always one to kind of speak up. I tried to do it in a nicest way possible, but I'm not going to let someone walk all over me, especially when it comes to me empowering others and me empowering myself. And I said to her on the phone in Vegas, I said, Deanne, this accomplishment was mine. My husband did help out a bit at the beginning, but I did this. I said, and there was no pressure to have a spouse come until I am on a plane. I said, do I need to just buy a ticket home and go back to North Carolina tonight? And she's like, no, 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 no. Just come, just come, just come, just come. I'm going to call the other girls, tell them to just come. We're going to have a good time. We love you, love you, love you, love you, love you. We care about you. Just trust us. We'll have a great time.
Just trust us.
So the other girls ended up coming. When we got to the hotel to check in the next day, I stayed at a different hotel the night before, actually in Vegas. Myself and the coach that I was rooming with, whose spouse had a military job, when we got to the front desk, they had canceled our room.
Oh my God.
And
No way.
the resort was sold out. The coach and spouse behind us, I mean, tears were starting to come down my eyes again. I do get very emotional. I can be hardcore, but I can be emotional. And the spouses behind us said, y'all can sleep in our room. Just get them to get a rollaway cot or whatever, because they were like, we can't do anything for the 3 of y'all.
Right.
Eventually, somehow, and I believe it was Justin, found a way for us to get our rooms. So we did get rooms. We all got a text from Deanne when we got to a room to meet her at the pool, the 3 of us. So we did. And she again reiterated that it was her fault, and she was so glad to have us there because she loved us, and we were going to have a great time, and everything was going to be great. And I said, absolutely, I'm not uncomfortable at all. I'm fine. I said, I'm here. There's three people on my team here too, and their husbands. I know people. I'm good. I could talk to a wall. I'm fine. And I've got these two other girls. We're good to go, you know? And I did. I had a good time. The other Lularoe ladies that went made sure that we were always included. It didn't even faze me one bit. The only part of it that did faze me was one night after dinner, we stood around in a room and we all held hands. And we went around the room and we said how much our bonus checks were and
Oh, that's rude.
what our why was for doing Lularoe.
That's
And so
weird.
each couple would go, and my bonus check this month was X amount. And my why is this. And of course, the three of us were standing together. And I did feel a little uncomfortable at that point. It was more of I'm sharing my salary with people. Usually in corporate America, where I came from, you kind of keep that quiet.
Right.
And the bonus checks were so all over the place. I felt bad for some of the girls that had just hit coach and theirs were really low. And then you have someone that had hit coach, because think about it, I had hit coach, geez, like 5 or 6 months prior.
Yeah.
So mine was one of the higher ones. So it was almost embarrassing for me to say it. But we ended up having a good time because we made the most of it. And it's my accomplishment. So that was the first ding, ding, ding. Why are they pressuring the spouse thing so much? And as we go on, we will see with this podcast how much more it was pressured.
Now, when they did these couples retreats or couples events or whatever, did the couples always do everything together, or did they do like separate events for like the men and the women? How did things work?
When you're a leader, first of all, we had 3 or 4 leaderships a year. Now I'm having trouble counting, but your significant other was definitely, you need your significant other to come, plus convention. Now, I don't know about you all, but my husband had 3 weeks of vacation. That required about 5 weeks him taking off. He had
Yeah.
taken off all
Wow.
that time. He wouldn't have been able to take off the week of July 4th, the week of Christmas, to be with the kids. So he could not do it. There were husbands that just could not do it. The husbands that came, and more started coming. There were general sessions where we were all together. Then there were breakout sessions. The breakout sessions were normally, we were separated. So men and women.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I never went into actually the men's session because I'm a woman. But my friends that their husbands did go in would come out and say, well, Mark talked about, supporting your wife, quitting your job, and what a great opportunity this is, how the company's growing. You should be all in 190%. So that is what I heard from other retailers, what went on in those sessions. Like I said, we had some sessions together, but there were definitely breakout sessions where only the men talked with the men.
So why do you think that they took the men out to try to encourage them to support their significant others in the business?
Well, in my opinion, it ultimately leads to quitting your job to support your wife. Your wife's bonus check is X amount. How much money do you make? Do you know how much more money you could be making if you
Yeah.
supported your wife and quit your job and you could both stay at home? And now that I look back, there's a couple different reasons. First of all, everybody would have their eggs all in one basket. So
Mm-hmm.
let's say Lularoe goes bankrupt tomorrow. Husband and wife are both own it, involved with it. They have nothing. So they're going to work that much harder if they're both in it. So
Right.
it's to me, that feels like almost cult mentality, because you are
Right.
tied to Lularoe. It is your everything. And I truly believe, and this is my opinion, that that's what Lularoe wanted, was for
Oh,
everyone in
yeah.
the family to be all in. So you had to depend on them to get a paycheck each month.
What kind of things would Mark, I mean, I'm just curious, like what kind of things would Mark do when he went out with the men? Like it wasn't a seminar. Did he go like do stereotypical manly activities like fishing and stuff like that?
It depended on the events, but there was like offshore fishing or drive fancy cars, things like that also. I'm
Just take
trying to
them
think
out
of
to
other
drive expensive
activities.
cars.
Usually it was fishing or driving fancy cars.
It's just, I don't know.
I
It's
mean, I
just
want to
so
fish and I want to go drive fancy cars, but
right.
I was never invited.
But you're a lady. That's not lady things.
Correct. Exactly.
Now, when retailers quit, of course, they used to have the 100% buyback policy where anything you sent back, they would fully refund you, which they did end up changing very abruptly. A lot of people were very upset about it. Um, but what was that same policy available to the mentors because you guys were, at the top of the chain? Did you have that same opportunity to just get out whenever you wanted and get your money back?
We had a conference call the night that the 100% buyback ended. Let's backtrack a little bit. I was never in favor of the 100% buyback personally,
Oh,
because it was way too easy and they were losing money. They were paying for shipping back, and it was, in my mind, it wasn't a smart business move. Okay, it's not. I'm not trying to defend Lularoe in that, but I'm just saying for any business, it was not a smart business move.
Right.
However, people took advantage of that because it was a great way to get out. And I even told my team, because a lot of people were still having going out of business sales, and I'll admit this. I said, why are y'all doing going out of business sales when you can return your inventory for 100%? So I became in favor of it because there was so many going out of business sales. Now, there are people that you had to turn in a form and then they would send, y'all, my assistant's back there. She was getting something out. Sorry about that. But you had to turn this form in and then they would email you back like an RA and a shipping authorization. Where there are people on the 100% that didn't hear anything for like 3 weeks. And myself as a mentor, I didn't know anything. I was like, I have no clue. I would send emails, no one would respond to me either. Well, that's because one day the 100% buyback just ended. The mentors found out about 45 minutes before they announced it to the field. We immediately started just blasting off questions like, will those be grandfathered in that have already sent that information in and want to get out? Mark said, no, it's ending right now. We do not have the money to do it anymore. And that's when the emergency mentor webinar was called. That's where he said that we don't have the money to do it anymore. He goes, into any of you dare try to ever leave, do not send your inventory back because you will not get a cent back, a CENT, a cent back. We'll donate it, throw it away, whatever. So at that point, we kind of knew that we were under that. What's that word when you're? We all had a lot of inventory, obviously, and we weren't going to see any money. So
Yeah.
again, they had us.
Yeah. That's just, I don't know. It just is so weird to me for them to just say, don't even try because we're not gonna, at that point we're not friends anymore. We don't want to talk to you.
Well,
right.
under MLM law, it's a 90% buyback. That's for any MLM.
Yeah.
Now, the way Lularoe has tried to get around that so many different ways with their Lula math, but they said that they would claw back your bonuses. Now, let's go back to that. Prior to July 2017, we were paid bonuses on front loading inventory. we already paid taxes on that. So,
Yeah.
in theory and legally, they couldn't claw back those bonuses, but they did. Now, after July of 2017, they could claw back those bonuses. If, from what I've read, other companies can do that too. But prior to that, and that's another legality gone astray that was just mind-boggling to me. But if you bring anything up to them like that, it's Courtney, be quiet. I would get a text message sometimes when I would bring up a question on our secret mentor board. Courtney, please don't ask any more questions. So it was one of those things that I felt like so much was being hidden from us also. And I had already lost trust in the company just because of this whole significant other, my bonuses being wrong. But when they didn't grandfather those people in, I knew they didn't love us or care about us. We were all just a number to them. Every one of us was just a number to them.
Yeah.
And that's when I started my, quote, escape route.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's talk about Guatemala. Or I guess no, we need to do Detroit first. I forgot. You already
Yes.
Detroit was first, when you were going to speak at conferences, correct?
Yes, they had these, they would tour the country, and they were called Inspire Tours. I got asked to speak in Indianapolis and Detroit. I was called last minute, of course, and said, hey, can you get to Indianapolis tomorrow? Don't worry, we'll pay you back for your flight there and back. From Indianapolis, you can take the corporate jet with us to Detroit and then Chicago. And I said, well, my twin's 4th birthday is on Friday. So after Detroit, can I just fly home instead of going to Chicago? And they said, you aren't going to do Chicago too? And I said, well, I really want to be there for my twin's birthday. But
Right.
I mean, I try to make things funny sometimes, even though it's very serious. Again, but I was honored to be asked to talk. I will admit that. So I did fly to Indy and spoke in Indianapolis. And I was also told I would be repaid for my flight there and back, but that never happened either. I just thought about that. I might need to add that to the what's Courtney owed. And then after we left Indy, we flew straight to Detroit. We checked into the hotel and we were told to meet in the hotel dining room for dinner. And hold on, that's another phone ringing in the background. I'm sorry. Can y'all still hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So we were told to meet in dining room, and it was myself. Then it was Jordan, who works for home office. That's Deanne's son. Deanne, Sam was sitting beside me. Oh, basically most of home office. And we had the menu. They had the menus out. And Jordan and Deanne were discussing what they were going to split. And I'm thinking to myself, are these people cheap? Like, are we splitting meals now, or what's going on? And I could tell my facial expressions are horrible. Like, not horrible, but I cannot hide them. And
Yeah.
I know my head was kind of cocked to the side. And they said, Courtney, our stomachs are very small because we've had the gastric sleeve done. So we can't eat as much. So we usually split meals. So I look back down at my menu and I'm thinking, okay, I guess I'm getting grilled chicken and Brussels sprouts now. Maybe eat a third of it.
Yeah. Like the
And
pressure isn't on or anything.
right. And I'm thinking to myself, the fried chicken looked good, but geez. Now I had gained weight. I was, like I said, a 10, 12 when I started. At that point, I was probably a 14. And Deanne looked at me and she goes, Courtney, you got to get the sleeve. And I was just like taken aback. Like no one's ever suggested to me before,
Right.
hey, it's basically like, you're fat. You need to go get the sleeve. Well, you don't say no to them. That's one of the things you don't do.
I mean, you
So
just
I kind of
can't.
listen. You just can't. It's such cult like mentality. I'm in therapy for it now. But when she did that at dinner that night, and she said, Jordan's had it and Sam's had it. She's like, Sam, tell her all about it. And Sam just said, I think he felt so bad for me. He's sitting right beside me. He's like, yeah, I had it. And then she goes, the table next to us was more mentors and coaches that had flown in to speak also. And she called one of them over, and he went on and on about how he had it, how he trusted Deanne because the surgery was in Tijuana. And that's where you went to have the surgery. And by this time, my facial expressions are probably all over the place. I'm trying to hold back my tears, but I'm trying to also I'm trying to please Deanne. She writes that paycheck,
Yeah.
And they went on and on about how it's only $5,000 for you to go down there. And in America, it's like $25,000 if you have to pay out of pocket. It's so cheap. And Deanne told me, she goes, I can have my sister Lene call you. She coordinates everything as soon as you get back. And she goes, you spend one night there, then she takes you back into the U.S. She goes, you can stay the night with me at my house if you want. She goes, and then you just fly back to North Carolina. It's done.
That's it. It's so
Okay.
easy.
I mean, yeah, it's like getting your hair done, I guess.
Do you think that part of the reason you felt pressure to do it is because you thought that maybe Deanne had your best interests at heart and maybe this would help you work your business?
No. How?
I just wanted to make sure.
No. There's a kickback involved. Sam's obviously come out about that they get $1,000 kickback off of this. The best interest was for them to make more money off of me.
Mm-hmm.
No doctor in America would have approved me at that size to have weight loss surgery ever.
Right.
No. There's people that have gone down there that are maybe 10, 15 pounds overweight. So best interest in heart to do my job better? No. I was doing a darn good job of doing my job, but I left the dinner that night, went back to my hotel room and cried and cried and cried. And next morning I had to speak, and I got up there like nothing had happened. It was the best show ever. From that point, everything I thought about the company changed. Everything I thought about Deanne, who I had kind of looked to her as a motherly figure and as an inspiration, changed. But I couldn't show it. So it was in private that I had to deal with those feelings.
So you definitely felt manipulated.
Oh, absolutely. Especially when them bringing other people over to talk to me about it. Again, how Deanne, that word trust is thrown around so much. And as soon as I got back to North Carolina, a couple days later, her sister calls me and says, let's get you on the schedule. You've got to go down there. Look, I'm taking, I think I've got room in a week. I go twice a month, and I normally take a couple people down there twice a month. And I'm thinking to myself, so many things are running through my head. Like, what's my mom going to say if I tell her I'm going to Tijuana to get gastric surgery? What's my sister going to say? At that time, my sister was the director of PR for the Surgeons Board, specializing in bariatric surgery. What is my sister going to say? Oh, and I said to Lene, I said, I can't make that decision right now. And she's like, well, you've got to get on the schedule. I mean, it's getting filled up. And I said, well, I need to, and my husband too, talk to him maybe about it. And then obviously the cost at that point wasn't much to me at all because I was making great money. So I didn't really think about that part.
Right.
But I'm also on some meds. One of them is a seizure med. And I said, I also need to talk to my doctor to see how my meds are going to react to this kind of surgery, because it's not just removing an ingrown toenail.
Right.
This is for life. So Lene asked me, well, what meds are you on? And I'll ask Dr. Michelle. I told her what meds I was on and for what. She called me back like an hour later. She goes, oh, he said you're fine. Just come on down. Well, this ain't The Price is Right. I'm just not going to go on down. I mean, the prize that's waiting at the bottom is something that really needs to be thought out. I inquired with my doctor, and my doctor looked at me like I had lost all my marbles. He said, Courtney, insurance would never approve you here in the U.S. He goes, yes, you need to lose some pounds. He goes, but we're talking maybe 25 pounds. He goes, now you can pay out of pocket for this. He goes, but with the medications you're on, we would have to really follow up with you. And he said, I don't know. I called my sister, and she actually has worked with some doctors in Tijuana. And she said, there are some reputable ones down there. She admitted that. I told her who we were going to see. She's like, never heard of them, never worked with them. And she said, but Courtney, you don't qualify for that. You don't need that. And she said, please do not do it. There was a lot of pressure at that point to look a certain way. So I still felt that something had to be done. And both my doctor and my sister said, after I talked to them, like, I guess I need to go down there. I've got to go down there. I said, why don't you try the Orbera balloon here in America? It's about $7,000 out of pocket. It's removable. So they basically put a balloon in your stomach, but they're not cutting out half your stomach. After 6 months, they remove it, and it trains you how to eat correctly. That way we can monitor you here in the U.S., have nutrition consultations, all of that jazz. And I was like, let's do it. That was my way of being like, this is something maybe I can do. Well, Lene called me, and we had a text thread called the Tijuana Skinnies of everyone that had gone down to Tijuana. And I told them that's what I was doing, was the Orbera balloon. And people kind of were like, oh, well, okay. And Lene called me, and she's like, now, Dr. Michelle said that's not going to work. The Orbera balloon is not going to work. And I said, well, this is what's best for me right now. I really want to try this first. I said first. And before I had it done, I went on his site, and he does the Orbera balloon. And I'm thinking to myself, I don't think he said that. They just probably aren't getting the kickback. That's just me thinking. So
Right.
I went and had it done. I came back. This was a week before Christmas, lethargic. My assistant at the time was having to help me with my medications. They gave me so many medications when I left. I had a follow-up visit. But my body was depleted of something. Christmas morning, I don't remember with my 3 children that Christmas. I had total brain fog. I was hurting 24/7. And the day after Christmas, I could barely walk down the stairs, and I looked at my husband and I said, I can't walk anymore. I said, I'm something's not right. And I said, please take me to the doctor. I want this out. And we're talking about coughing up $7,000, literally, in a week. He had to help me down the stairs. He flew to the doctor because the doctor was about 45 minutes away. He was going probably 90 and 60 because I was seizing out, and I was shaking all over. My face was completely white. As soon as I got to the doctor, they looked at me, took me straight back to the operating room. And I remember they couldn't get the needles in me. I had very small veins. And my husband yelled at him, just do it. Just get them in there. Just do it. And I remember praying for my children because I was not going to make it. I saw all these things. Sorry.
It's okay.
Finally, I did seize out on the table too. They got the IVs in me, and obviously I don't remember anything else until I woke up.
Yeah.
And I woke up. And that was probably one of the happiest minutes of my life as I woke up. And when I went and got in the car afterwards, it was amazing how much better I felt. After I left, we had some talks with the doctor about why this happened. There were 2 things that they could conclude it to. Was that my body just could whatever was in it, that balloon, my body was just rejecting it. And the other thing is my meds were not being completely absorbed. So my seizure medication was not being absorbed completely. And I don't know, I'm not a doctor. I don't know all the doctor terms behind that. But what do you know, a week later, Lene calls me and asked about it and said I had to have it removed. And she said, now, see, I told you Dr. Michelle said it wouldn't work. And I'm thinking to myself right now, my teeth are like gritting. She goes, let's get you on the schedule to come back down. And I'm thinking to myself, no, woman, I was almost dead. And I told her, I said, no. I said, until I talk to and I didn't say no as affirmative, no, this is the end. I said, until me and my doctor get things straight, I cannot do it. Because again, it was, you just don't say no. You don't say no, and it's final. So she did back off. I was kicked off of the Tijuana Skinnies thread. And before I was kicked off, the last text that I got, and I have all this screenshot, I have all the evidence. I'm one of those people that if I'm going to say something, I can back it up.
Yeah.
The last thing they mentioned was Dr. Michelle is now doing plastic surgery, breast augmentation. He can remove the fat from under your arms. Does anybody want to go down there for plastic surgery? And that's when, I think a day later is when I got kicked off, but I'd had enough by then, so I was kind of okay being kicked off. So it was, they want you to look a certain way. They told the other mentor that quit that to speak, you need to be a size small or medium. So a big emphasis was put on your looks, how you looked, your weight, which if we go back to the beginning of this podcast, remember that I said I was a 10-12 when I joined.
Mm-hmm.
I thought I was a little heavy, but I felt beautiful in the clothes. I had women that were 3Xs that came into my house and left, sent me pictures and said they felt good about themselves for the first time in forever. So I felt that the values they spoke of were not the values that I was seeing.
Yeah.
And it made me
It's
literally
just so ironic. It's so ironic because this is one of Lularoe's big selling points.
I said, yes, is now they have changed their mission statement since then. I think twice now. I'm not quite sure, but I knew when I was selling to these people that were larger, I had a hard time doing it because I knew what had happened to me.
Yeah.
And after that, I started gaining more weight. Food became my vice. So at this point, maybe they would approve me in the U.S. I'm not sure, but I'm not going to do it. I will never do it.
Right. It's just so angering, and it's so fucked up that, I mean, you literally thought you were gonna die, and a couple of weeks later, they're trying to get you to do the other surgery again because.
Oh, it was maybe a week and a half later. I'm not an overly religious person, but I was praying, I was repenting on that drive. And when I was on the operating table, I mean, you can't even imagine the feeling. Now, I've had 2 C-sections, a gallbladder removed. I've had so many surgeries done. Never has something like this happened. So it was horrifying. And then to be pressured more.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
mean,
from
that
someone
just.
that's not even a medical expert.
Right. I just feel like that just makes it more clear than ever that they don't have your best interests in mind. They're not trying to look out for you. They're trying to benefit.
Well, I guess a dead Courtney didn't have to pay her a bonus.
I just want to know how your relationship with Deanne changed and what happened to you in the company after you would go to Tijuana.
I really felt that was the turning point where I was ostracized. Many people had gone by that point. She has a video that's out there, and she speaks of many people that have gone, and since then more have gone. And she mentions about taking a 13-year-old down there. And I felt that since I didn't do what basically I was asked to do or told to do, and the next trip I was going on was Guatemala. Before that, I had to have my mentor's interview. And I just felt like all of home office too. And it was like, it's almost, I felt shunned. Maybe I read more into that than it actually was, but my husband did pick up on it. So I
Well, and
wasn't completely
yeah.
thinking all this in my head.
And you had also mentioned before that after you refused the second time, that they stopped asking you to speak at conferences and things like that.
Yes, they, that was the last time I was asked to speak. And I will tell you, when I went to Detroit and Indy and spoke, I'm one that engages the crowd. I don't read straight from a PowerPoint. I got accolades from consultants out there, emails saying, thank goodness you spoke, because we hear the same people speak over and over again and say, So I knew it wasn't because I wasn't a decent speaker. It was because I didn't do what they asked me to do.
Yeah.
Also, at that point was when I started to question things. And I would get phone calls from not just Deanne, but from Art, and telling me not to question them. So I called myself a B-list mentor at that point. So did many. There were actually probably about five to 10 of us. We had like the B-list mentor club, we called it. We were the ones that would ask questions or speak up or speak out, or were the heavier ones, or we had like our own club, we felt like,
Yeah.
that we weren't a part of the quote clique.
Right.
So I have to say it's a combination. If I have to say, it's a combination of me speaking up and out and me saying no to the surgery, in my opinion.
Now, was the trip to Guatemala before or after all of this?
It was afterwards. My mentor interview was after the Orbera balloon and before Guatemala.
Okay. Okay. So do we want to talk about the mentor interview or do we want to go right on to Guatemala?
I can speak about the mentor interview real quick. I can just go over that real quick. When you hit mentor, they had implemented this new, I guess, program where you and your spouse were to fly out to California to have a one-on-one meeting with Mark and Deanne in home office. And basically, it was to prepare you to be in that role, kind of tell you what you're doing wrong, what you need to improve on. And they would do 3 mentors at a time, and your spouse. Okay. So I think I was the second or third round to go, maybe the ninth one to go. Brought my spouse, and we went in there. And now, mind you, my spouse didn't come to much because he had a job, a job,
How dare
and
he?
he couldn't take off just on a whim all the time. So we
Right.
went into the interview, and for about, it was a 2-hour interview per couple. The first 30 minutes, I'm sorry, they had a whiteboard up there, and they were saying, Courtney, you're too available to your team. Okay, I was. Some things they said, and I needed to work on. I get it.
What do they mean that you were too available to the team? Isn't that what they would want?
Yes, but also when you have a team of 3,500 people, someone 25 lines down shouldn't be calling me. But I would take that phone call because I felt that I was still the leader, and I would want someone to take my phone call and help me. So I made myself overly available. Even like on my team page, I would put out my phone number, and I was getting calls at 3 in the morning. I had a team in Alaska. If they couldn't get in touch with their sponsor, they would call me. Well, they're 4 hours behind. So I was up till 3 or 4 in the morning. And so I was overly available. So I can say that I felt like that one little part was something I did need to work on. I think that would be in any job, though. That's just not Lularoe. There were
Right.
other things I questioned them on it, and it was, Courtney, trust us. We've been doing this for 3 years or whatever it was at that time. I was like, 3 years, long standing company, and let me just trust you. But then it turned to, and they put out a box of tissues. How's your marriage going? And I
Oh.
about, Clay, where do you work? And he told him where he worked. Do you like your job? He's like, I love it. And he was so excited to talk about it. And he's like, I've really moved up in the company. Well, why don't you quit your job and work with your wife? I think your relationship will really be strengthened. Looks like y'all could be going through some tough things right now, it sounds like. And I think this could really bring y'all back together. And Clay said, and I kind of said for him too, he said, well, I don't have a college degree. I have some college behind me, and I've really worked my way up. If I was to leave my job and in 5 years go back, he goes, I wouldn't be at the level I'm at right now because I don't have that degree. And that's true. I mean, that is absolutely true with any company. At this point now you need a doctorate. But then they looked at me and they said, Courtney, do you have a college degree? And I said, yes. And I said, I worked in corporate America for 11 years. And Mark goes, let me tell you both something. He goes, Clay, you've got some college behind you. Courtney, you have a degree. He goes, I dropped out of high school and I'm the richest person in this room. Okay.
That's just so gross.
That is so weird.
The rest of the interview, actually, two other consultant and their spouse were invited into our interview to talk to us about our marriage.
What?
Yes. How I know they felt uncomfortable. I know they felt uncomfortable, even though they're very good friends with Deanna and Mark. I know they felt uncomfortable, but yes. And at the end, we were walking out, and Clay and I had about 2 hours before we were supposed to meet him for dinner. And Deanne said to me, they gave Clay some book. I'm not sure what book it was, but they said to me, Deanne said, now, Courtney, make sure you go please him before dinner, okay?
Oh, God.
And I can't remember the exact words. It was please him or I'm pretty sure it was that.
But it was definitely very, very sexual. Like,
very,
you got
very.
that, yeah.
Absolutely, 100%. It was like, girl, you got 2 hours. Go do something. Y'all go do something.
Oh.
Because that was always emphasized too.
Yeah, and on that subject, there were a lot of rumors going around about Deanne making a reference like that in one of their live training videos or whatever it was, where she was talking about getting your husband to allow you to have more money to spend on the company. Do you know what I'm talking about?
About getting on your knees for 5 minutes a day.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Now, did you have the pleasure of witnessing that?
I heard it one time. I did. I believe it was said 2 or 3 times. I can't count exactly how many. I did have the quote pleasure of hearing it before. Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself, really? We're empowering women?
That is
And
fucked
this
up.
is what you speak of? No, I'm gonna go spend my money how I want. No. So I was just like
And also,
disgusted at that point. So disgusted. And they left. They said, well, when we were leaving, they're like, we're so excited to see you on the next Guatemala trip. Y'all are on the second trip. They said, Clay, get that time off from work. He said, I will. He took the time off from work. So that's where we lead into Guatemala.
Yeah. So, what was the purpose of going to the Guatemala trip? Was it to tour the factories?
It was to tour the factories. It was basically a time to get away with your spouse and as mentors and to share ideas and come together as a big happy family. So it was supposed to be a learning, but a pleasurable experience too, per se. A time to get away and enjoy each other.
So, did you get to tour the factory?
Yes, but right before that, I flew out to California. Before that, we went to Guatemala, and I brought one of my newer consultants with me, and she lived in California. And I said, let's go meet Deanne. I want you to meet her. Because at that point, I was still like trying to be Team Deanne. I guess I wanted her to like me again. And when we got in home office, Deanne kind of said, "Hey," and shrugged her off. And I said, "Oh, I've got to turn in one more thing for Guatemala." She goes, "You're not on the next trip." I said, "Yes, I am." She goes, "No, you're on the June trip." I said, "Deanne," I said, "Do you remember just about 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago, you telling Clay to get that time off?" I said, "He did." And she goes, "Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. I messed up so bad. Oh my God." So she calls someone in there and she goes, "Knock someone off the trip. Obviously they have to go on this trip now," because she asked if there was any other way we could switch. And I said, "No, no, I'm done playing the yes game." I didn't say that to her, but anyway. So we go to Guatemala, but the week before I had an issue that was going on in my team, and they all called me. I have every email regarding the issue. It was their issue, 100%, but they tried to put it back on me and my leaders. And then they told me that they didn't think I was ready to go to Guatemala, that the people that were
Jesus.
going were the original people that had been with the company so much longer than me. Basically, I hit mentor pretty quick. And that if I was questioning them, I wasn't really ready. And I
Wow.
started crying and I said, "My husband has taken off work." I said, "I'm ready. Just because I ask you questions," I said, "I have everything to back this up." And they said, "Well, fine, you can go, but please bring a notebook." And this is Art saying this. "And I want you to go to every mentor and ask them how they run their team successfully." He goes, "Because not all of them do, or they have. They've had to learn." He goes, "And I think you're still learning. You're in the learning phase." He goes, "And then report back to me after Guatemala," because he wasn't going to Guatemala.
That is so patronizing.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and I was so excited to go. I was excited for Clay to go. He had taken time off, and this like thought the trip of a lifetime. But so yes, we did go to the factory when we got there. I believe that was the second day, the Guatemalan factory where the clothes are produced. Now they are produced around the world: China, Vietnam, Guatemala. Not they used to be in the USA, no more. Uh, and so we went and did a tour of the factory and just kind of walked around, looked at how things were sewn. And there, we do not have the entire factory. I thought when we went, from the way it was explained, was this is the Lularoe factory. Like,
Right.
we are so big now that we have our own factory. No, I have the picture from where there's like 30 other companies that manufacture in that plant. So we were taking some pictures, but you were not allowed to take certain pictures because other brands were coming out of there too.
Right.
And as far as the working conditions, I used to work in manufacturing. I was not actually in manufacturing, but I worked for the corporate headquarters. And their conditions down there are different than our conditions here, but they are a different country. From what I saw, I did not see any conditions that I felt were undesirable per se. Now,
Oh, oh no.
I don't know what they're paid. I don't know the hourly that they are paid, but what I saw, I felt was equivalent to the US, except for the timing. And they had these little stickers like how quick you get something done. If you got it done quicker, you were a smiley face, or you had sad faces. If you got too many sad faces, you were fired. Things like that I thought were demeaning,
Yeah.
but I felt like it was almost set up. They knew we were coming, and everything was more set up that day because we were coming. Now, the outside of the facility, we had to travel like 45 minutes from Guatemala City to get there. It's not the safest country in the world, probably. I was a little hesitant to go in, but uh, compared to some other facilities I've been to here, I mean, I didn't see horrible working conditions.
Um, Courtney, you
Mhm.
are very, very well known for the cow rug. or the cow rug trope, cow rug trope that seems to be in all the like in Lularoe Defective, in like the Lularoe fail page. Will you tell us about the cow rug?
Yes, there's so many hashtags out there. Team Cow Rug, Team Courtney's Cow Rug. We were told to bring money in cash down to Guatemala, at least $5,000. We were able to purchase these bags made by artisans down there. And in one particular artisan, we went and we all spent a couple $1,000s. And we saw that he made men's leather belts and these beautiful cow rugs. And Deanne said, "Oh my God, if one of y'all wants a cow rug, just go ahead and order it from him. Go ahead and order it. He'll put it on your receipt. Pay him now. Pay him now. I'll get my dyer, who is the factory down there, to ship them to me, and then I'll ship it individually to each of you." So I ordered a cow rug. I wanted a darn cow rug, okay? They were beautiful, and it's helping out artisans down there too. Got the receipt. Got the receipt, has all the bags I purchased and the cow rug on there. Other mentors ordered the cow rug too and some belts. I don't think I got a belt. No, we didn't order the belts. Some ordered 2 cow rugs. Well, we came back. We had a little Guatemala mentors text chat that I'm kicked off of now, by the way. But like 4 months later, we had heard nothing about our cow rugs. And the artisan said they would be ready in a month, and then my dyer would ship to Deanne. So let's say maybe that takes 2 days, and then she'd ship to us. 4 or 5 months goes by. I have all this screenshotted again. And someone asked in the chat, "Hey guys, where's our cow rugs?" Someone else said, "I'm not asking. Who wants to ask?" And someone said, "I don't think we'll ever get it." I mean, it was just kind of banter back and forth. And I said, "I'll ask. That's my money. I want my darn cow rug."
Right.
So I emailed or texted, one of the home office employees that went with us. And I said, "When can we all expect our cow rugs? We have a little chat, and none of us have received cow rugs." And he said, "I'll ask Deanne and Mark." When he comes back, and he said that Deanne had no recollection of that happening.
I don't know what you're talking about. What cow rugs?
Do what? You just had 15 to 20 people buy and these things were hundreds of dollars. What? You told us, what world do I live in? So this guy went to Mark, and Mark's like, "Oh yeah. Well, me and Deanne are going to Guatemala for a quick 2-day trip in a month. So we'll ask about the cow rugs then." Because they were acting like they didn't have them. Never heard anything again about the cow rugs until after I quit. Cow rugs started to pop up. The mentors were sharing theirs on Instagram. Deanne was at the Wyoming ranch talking about the beautiful cow rug she now had from Guatemala all over the floor. Where's my cow rug? I never got my cow rug. And it was a slap in the face to me that Courtney, the person that actually went forward and said, "Hey, where's the cow rugs?" And they all automatically remembered that we had all spent hundreds, if not thousands of dollars, that I don't have mine. Now, my first lawyer that I had even included that in what I'm owed is
Good.
a cow rug. And it doesn't go. And so in defective, it's like Team Cow Rug. The cow rug doesn't. I want my cow rug, first of all. Okay. I want my darn cow rug. I measured it for my 4-year. I got the colors. She has my cow rug. It's at her house. I've seen it. She likes to post it on Instagram at least once a week to show off her cow rugs. But the cow rug symbolizes much more than that. And I know some people are like, "Oh my God, stop talking about the cow rug." I really don't anymore. Other people do. It symbolizes the money that so many people have not gotten back from Lularoe, that are owed so much money. Myself and the other mentor owed bonus checks. We're owed back orders. We've received nothing. The consultants that have sent back their inventory have not gotten a check, and it's been 6 months. That's what the cow rug symbolizes. I'll never see that cow rug, ever. But darn it if I don't have the receipt for it.
Yeah, it's totally like the Lularoe shattered dream symbol.
Yes, it is. And I remember someone said, I'm so tired of hearing about this cow rug. And it's not like, it was all day long every day. And that's when I said, listen, I don't really talk about it anymore, but this is helping you. This symbolizes, exactly what y'all are all waiting on too. So that's how the cow rug came about. And if Deanne could certainly do the right thing, she has, I don't know how many of the cow rugs in her house. And I'm pretty sure I know which one is mine because I specified the colors and exactly how I wanted it.
Mm-hmm.
How hard is it to be like, that's stolen property? Let me pack it up and send it to Courtney. Let me do the right thing. She has the receipt. But no, it's absolute 100% theft. But
God,
hey,
that's
I can't
nuts.
outlawyer them. They've told me.
So you also broke your foot in Guatemala.
Yep. Yes, broke my foot. hmm I was coming out of a store, and I'm clumsy. I'm going to admit it, and uh, realized that there were steps that I totally missed and fell down. Actually, my whole right leg was torn up, but my foot was kind of like just dangling there. And it was so awesome that so many Guatemalans ran out of their shops to help me. I mean, they were bringing over ace bandages and the spray they were putting on me and trying to help me up. My husband, obviously, and two retailers walked by that were on the trip, and they were helping too. And Deanna and Mark walked by, and they're like, "What happened?" And that was basically it. And I had to get back down to the boat to take us back to our hotel. And I was having to be carried. The guys were having to carry me because darn it, I was fat. I didn't go to Tijuana. I was fat. So they helped me down, got me on the boat, had to help me get out of the boat, obviously, also. We had a dinner that night. I texted Deanne and said, Deanne, I'm not going to be going. I couldn't really walk. No one ever offered to take me anywhere, call a doctor, nothing. And Clay texted her and said, hey, I'll come and take notes because it was a training dinner. And she said, thanks, that'll be great if Clay can come. Okay. So the whole trip, I kind of hobbled around. I wrapped it up. I mean, the other retailers, I have to say, they don't talk to me anymore, but they were very accommodating then. But no one cared. But that's when I fell in love with the Guatemalan artisans then, and kind of goes into what I do today. But yeah, there was no support, none from them on that trip over my broken foot. Also, after I had the surgery, I had to wear a boot. And they found out my foot was shattered all the way from my ankle to my toe. So it wasn't
Oh,
just broken, it
jeez.
was bad.
Yeah, that's bad.
And Deanne never asked. I mean, I had leadership after that. I had convention. Never once asked, how are you doing? Girl, are you feeling better? Nothing.
Right.
Nothing.
Now, you said that Deanne pushed you to go to La Farmacia. Uh, was this after you shattered your foot, or was this just to have a good time?
What happened was we had 4 or 5 buses, and we kind of switched up every day who was on each bus, just to kind of get to know each other. And I like that. The buses were fun, and I was on the bus with Deanne that day, and we were going to. This was before I shattered my foot. Okay, this is before, like the day before, maybe. And she was like, "Oh my God, we are going to Ponchel, and they have the best pharmacy there. We got to go to the pharmacy." And I was like, "Is this a Disney outing?" Or she was like, "Y'all." She goes, "Last trip." Well, she didn't say y'all. I'm just from the South, so I said y'all. She goes, "Last trip," and she mentioned the name of the woman, of the mentor. She goes, "Do you know that she even went to the pharmacy?" Because I told her, Xanax, you've got to get Xanax. And she was so scared because she's in I'm not going to say her field or where she came from because I don't give away who it is. She was so scared she didn't want to do it. But y'all, after that, She loves it now. She has to have it all the time. And I'm thinking to myself, you are sitting here bragging about telling someone to go into the pharmacia to get Xanax, Percocets, Oxycontin. You can get that down there over the counter. We don't know what it's cut with. But I kind of just, again, my facial expressions were just like, huh? I don't think anyone on the bus quite knew what to say. I did not go to the pharmacia. I kind of stood. We were all walking around, but I saw people coming out with bags of goods from the pharmacia. And I was thinking to myself, well, that's a lot of ibuprofen, or that's a lot of Oxycontin and Percocets and Xanax is coming out of there. Now, I'm prescribed a Xanax. Have been for years. So I didn't need to go to La Pharmacia to get it, right? On the bus, then I broke my foot. So then on the bus, it was the day after I broke my foot because we were going to like different places every day. And in Guatemala, it takes about 3 hours to get to each place. I was sitting in the second in the back seat. My husband was in the back seat. He's 6'6". He's really tall. So he takes up 2 seats. And I had my foot and I was it was all wrapped up and I was probably moping a little bit because it hurt. And one of her sons was in the front facing us. We were all joking around. He's like, I got Oxycontin at the pharmacia. He's like, Courtney, you need it. He was like, it'll so help your foot. And I'm thinking to myself, Oxycontin, like they put me on Percocets after surgery, but isn't that's like big time. He goes, I got the 10 milligrams. And I said, whoa, you should start off with 5. He goes, no, I always get the 10 milligrams. And I'm thinking, okay. He goes, you need it. Well, the guy in front of me sitting on the bus, and I will not say his name either, looked at me. He turned around because everybody was chattering. He goes, what medications are you on? And I told him, I do not know his profession, but he's either got to be a pharmacist, doctor, or nurse. He goes, do not take that Oxycontin. And I said, I don't want to, but I'm being pressured to. He goes, just take it and act like you're taking it and then throw it or something, So finally I was like, he threw a 10 milligram Oxycontin back at me and I caught it all the way at the back of the bus. They were little buses. And I took it. And when he wasn't looking, I took it and I threw it under my seat.
Well, that's going to be quite a surprise for somebody to find, in a couple weeks.
The next person on the bus that got on the buses was probably having a pretty good time. But
exactly.
And he told you not to take it because it would have interacted with your medications, right?
Yeah, correct. I know his name. I know his wife's name. I do not know what his profession was. Pretty sure he had quit his job to work with his wife, but we did have a lot of pharmacists, doctors, even lawyers that quit their jobs to work with their wives. So he had to be of some medical profession to tell me not to take it. And after that, I started... Actually, it was even before that, because when I was in Detroit and Indy, before I went to go speak, Deanne said, do you need some Xanax? Are you nervous? Oh my God, are you nervous? And I was like, no, I used to speak in front of like thousands of people in corporate America. I'm pretty good to go here. And she was like, you don't want Xanax? And I was like, I take Xanax every day. I told her that. So I'm prescribed to it. I have bad anxiety. Well, she asked me again the next day, and I had to remind her that I take it every day. There's videos out there too, where people have admitted that, and actually have been happy about it, that she offers this up, the pills. And one day someone's going to have a bad interaction, and that scares me. Yeah. That scares me because I know about medication. I'm prescribed to it, and I have to be very careful.
Yeah.
I take less than I'm supposed to take every day. But to have something as high powered as Oxycontin, and to brag about
just
getting
so
someone
irresponsible.
Else to not Oxycontin but to Xanax on the first trip, I can't even. I don't even know what to say.
Yeah.
And like you said, it's not FDA regulated, so you don't know what it's cut with. And even if you went on and had the oxy, you don't know how much is going to be cut with fentanyl, which can kill you.
Absolutely. Oxy is a very, very big drug. It's not, it's not your Xanax. This is the highest of the high. And 10 milligrams is no small dosage of, and then they would drink 5-hour energy drinks too. Cause I always wondered, how do these people have so much energy and never sleep? Well, now I knew.
Right.
It was mind boggling to me. And I, like, again, you don't say no.
Right. And I mean, you had multiple, there was multiple people that were there trying to get you to take the OxyContin or try to, take anything, trying to pressure you
Well,
into it.
on the bus, it was just one of her sons, but there wasn't pressure from the other mentors on the bus. They weren't saying, yeah, Courtney,
Right.
take it, take it, take it. It was
Right.
just them. And I think they were almost, no one's going to come out and say it, but they were, especially when that other mentor's husband, kind of leaned back and was like, what do you take, Courtney? And I told him, he's like, do not take it.
Mhm.
I wasn't going to take it anyway, but then I threw it. So, yeah, the next person that got on the bus is feeling good right now, I'm guessing.
So so now talking to you about all of your experiences, of course it seems like there were a lot of reasons for you to leave, for you to quit working with this company. What would you say were the biggest reasons that you decided to step away?
When I told my team and I told Mark, and I wrote a formal resignation letter, I just didn't cancel like normal, is that my values did not align with theirs anymore. And that's 100% true. My values do not align with theirs. That's the pressure to have weight loss, the pressure to look a certain way, the drug pressure, the me getting a call at midnight being screamed at for someone 25 lines down from me had done when I was told I was too helpful. But
And that
then,
was and that was Deanne that called you, right?
yes, yes, that was a pretty good one too. The what I ended up doing,
Yeah.
but ended up delegating it to the person that was above that person. And when she asked me what I had done, I told her that, and I said, "That's what you do. You delegate." But I couldn't take. We were traveling so much. My family didn't know who I was anymore. We were getting these big bonus checks. Yes, they had been cut, but they were not. I mean, I was still making good money, but we were also spending all that money. And that's another thing, is that we were encouraged to spend, spend, spend. Looking back on it now, you know why? So we would have to be dependent on that check the next month.
Right.
Mhm.
And my then he was 9 he was 9 at the time. I had it was basically like a nervous breakdown, and I just couldn't do it anymore. My 9-year-old found me, and he always listened to the webinars with me, and he said, "Mommy, mommy, mommy," and I was like, he's like, "What's wrong?" And I said, "I'm just, buddy, I got a lot of work." And he goes, "Please get away from them. Just go." And hearing him say that was kind of what they put so much emphasis on family, but I wasn't quite there all the time with them. And that's when I knew too that a 9-year old was smarter than me at that moment. I also knew a lot of things that I was told to disseminate different information. And I felt like a liar. I felt like a liar to my team. I did care about my team. Of course, not everybody's going to like the leader. I get that. But I felt like I had to hide so much, and I felt dirty. And I just realized that, people remember there's always those shows about what happened to that millionaire. Well, being a millionaire doesn't just make you happy, it's what goes along with it. And that just wasn't there anymore. And I decided that for my personal help, for my family, for everything, that it was time for me to go. I no longer, my values did not align, and I did not have trust in the company at all. So I left.
And what happened when you left, when you resigned?
Well, I told in my resignation letter, I put exactly what I was owed down to the cow rug. Mind you, that was bullet pointed. But I already had a lawyer, and I had a lawyer just for my business anyway. And when I sent the letter to them, I said, please do not contact me. Send all this to my lawyer by a certain date. I gave them ample amount of time to get my bonus checks to me that they owed me, all the back order credits, their cow rug, everything to me. And I said, because I didn't want to be called, screamed at, yelled at, and my lawyer wanted to handle it all. Okay. All correspondence must go to him. Well, what do you know? A week later, I get a package on my doorstep, and it is a cease and desist letter. The cease and desist letter says that I must immediately cease and desist from trying to get other Lularoe retailers to leave the company for a company that I was now working for. I don't have the letter in front of me, so verbatim. And I sat there, I scratched my head. I said, well, I don't work for this company. First of all, I ended up starting my own business doing fair trade, working with Guatemalan artisans, actually, because they have market
Huh.
now. And that's my business now. And I looked at the letter and I was like, seriously, what is it? And I was like, I haven't even talked to any other retailers. Like, I was in hiding. And I told my team when I resigned, I said, I'm not going to be answering any text right now or phone calls. I don't want to be flooded. I never pressured anyone to quit, not one person. So I immediately called my lawyer. He goes, that's supposed to come to me, not you. He goes, it was there in the resignation letter. So he actually called their lawyer, Bill, and he said, Miss Harwood, she got this. Everything's supposed to come to me. And Bill told him that he didn't even know I had a resignation letter. Do what? Hold on. So your legal team is sending me a cease and desist when you haven't even read my resignation letter? It's mind-boggling. It's absolutely mind-boggling. It's like the blind leading the blind leading the blind. How, and my lawyer was like, yes. And he's like, well, I'll go back and let me go back and read that. Well, yeah, thank you. So long story short, I had a North Carolina lawyer. I'm in North Carolina. They kept coming back with basically trying to outlawyer me. I spent a lot of money with my lawyer and telling me that I would, to get my money or to even try to get the money that I'm legally owed, I would have to go to mediation in Riverside, County, California, with the honorable judge so-and-so that they had picked. And so I had to switch to a California attorney, which is being done now.
So you're all out of Lularoe now. I mean, I know you've got some stuff going on legally, but how do you feel just being out of it?
It's been very emotional for me because I was in it for a long time. I formed some very awesome friendships. And when I left, most of those people were still friends with me. I didn't speak out about Lularoe for probably about 3 months because I felt like if I didn't speak up and I didn't speak out, that they would give me what I was legally owed. But when they didn't, my lawyer said, Courtney, go for it. He said, I cannot in good conscience bill you anymore for this. He goes, we're getting nowhere. He couldn't go to California. He goes, go to Good Morning America. I mean, I had so many news outlets contact me, but I shut up for so long. When I started speaking out, those friends dropped off. The ones that were still in Lularoe. Slowly but surely, they dropped off. And and I would say I had 10 really, really good friends. Out of those now, I maybe speak to one. So that sisterhood is, in my mind, almost like a cult sisterhood.
Oh, yeah.
Also, and I was in a sorority in college, and people think, there's a stigma behind that. Oh, no, 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 no. I mean, not everyone's going to get along, but at the end of the day, you come together for the common good, and that's part of the sorority. At the end of the day, at Lularoe, no one knows what's going on. The math is wrong. Someone's stabbing someone in the back. Someone doesn't like somebody. Someone needs to go get surgery. It's just mind-boggling. But emotionally, I needed to see someone. I am not ashamed to say that I have been going to see a therapist. And when I told him all this over a couple of sessions, his mouth was just dropping open. And he put in front of me one day the signs of a cult. And he said, we've got to basically decultivize you.
Right.
And so it's like one by one by one. And that's what we go through on our sessions. That I am not the scum of the earth. That I am worthy of something. That there's this, the leader of a cult is basically the prophet you don't say no to. I have the power to say no. If I don't believe something's in someone's best interest or mine or could potentially hurt somebody, I have that power and I can say emotion on much of it. I just want my money back.
Right.
I'm legally owed, because when I had my plan of action, because I was always told to trust them. I trusted that they would pay me what I'm legally owed. So I took my savings and I poured it into the company that I have now with the handbags. And I went back to Guatemala, worked with the artisans there, trusting that I would get the money I was owed back to pay myself back. But I
Right.
didn't. So I walked away in debt because I've not been paid back. The other mentor that quit, she's actually owed more than I am. And it's been more of an emotional struggle for me. We're different. We've got different personalities, but it's a lot of emotional healing that I've got going through, and they're dragging it out by not giving me my money. And this cow rug, when they post the pictures of the cow rugs on Instagram once a week, it's just like, it's a slam in my face every time. They know why they're doing it. I just want to be gone. I want to be rid of the cult. But I can't quite yet.
Right. Right. So just to kind of wrap things up, Courtney, we just really, really appreciate you coming in and just telling us like your entire emotional struggle with Lularoe. Like we are very, very grateful, and we hope that your story can help somebody who's really in neck deep.
Yeah, and I hope so too. And I'm not just doing it for my own good. I'm trying to do it for help all those others out there that are owed millions and millions of dollars.
Yeah.
So if my story helps one person, then I guess my job is done.
I think it will. Honestly, I think it will. So, Katie, do you have any final thoughts?
I mean, of course, I agree with everything that Sasha has just said. We are so grateful that you took the time out to talk to us and to really open up about your experiences. A lot of this is really raw, emotional, heartfelt stuff. And we just really appreciate you being willing to just talk to us and be a real person, not try to hide your feelings or anything like that. You know, you've just been so great, um, just opening up and just giving it to us real and honest. And I'm really excited about this episode. I'm really excited for people to listen to it and to get all of this stuff out there, because a lot of this is things that people have just heard about and have speculated about. It's been rumors, and it's been, you know, we haven't been able to confirm things like that. And I'm just glad that now we can get it out there and people can know for a fact that this kind of stuff is happening, and there's bad stuff happening behind the scenes, and something needs to be done about it.
It does. And I will say that Art, who was at home office, told me about a year and a half ago to own my data. Well, guess what? I took that to heart and saved every email, every screenshot, every text, every recording, everything. Because I don't want to say something unless I have the proof to back it up.
Right.
So now there are some things that are from personal experiences, but for the most part, I have all the evidence to back everything up, because I'm not going to say something and not have that. So I hope that helps other people. I know other people are struggling, and I hope this helped them, you know, come to terms with what is and not being in the situation that I'm in right now.
Right, right. Well, I just want to wrap everything up by again giving a final thank you to Courtney. You've been fantastic. Um, I just really appreciate you talking about your dark times through Lularoe and telling it like it is. Um, you can find us on Instagram. You can find us on Facebook. You can find us on Twitter. We're everywhere.
And YouTube.
And what's that?
And YouTube.
And YouTube. Yeah, we are everywhere. All your favorite social media platforms.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
That's great for everybody out there. Y'all are doing a great job. I appreciate what y'all are doing.
Thank you. Thank you, Courtney. And so I just want to sign off by saying, take care of yourselves, keep your head on your shoulders, and really research anything that you want to get into just to make sure you don't get scammed. So have a good day and enjoy listening.
Thank y'all.